Toby said I got to hit the gavel, so that's pretty cool. We haven't got to do that. So, welcome to the Lincoln County Courthouse and the Lincoln County Planning Commission. We'll begin with a few introductory remarks. This meeting is being streamed live, and when adjourned and posted, it'll be available at any time at lincolncountysd.org. The order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain the proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the County Planning Commission. I'll then open the floor to public comment, first for persons in support of the application and then for persons in opposition of the application. When you step to the podium, please state your name and address and speak into the microphone. Please limit your comments to less than 5 minutes. Thank you for your cooperation. We'll first do roll call. Commissioner Green.
Present.
Commissioner Sweeter.
Present.
Commissioner Jungling.
Present.
Commissioner Boots.
Here.
And Commissioner Scott is also here. We'll now look for a motion to approve the meeting minutes if there are no changes from last month.
So approved, Jungling.
Second, Green.
Motion.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the meeting agenda, and the only comment that, I don't think we necessarily have a change, but I just want to make a clarification that agenda item number 3 is a main motion that was postponed from last month's meeting. And so with that, know that main motion is still on the floor and takes precedence. I know it was published on the agenda, but we wouldn't have to take public comment. But when we get to that time, we believe that staff has a few new things they want to address, and so we're going to take privilege to listen to that. And once we listen to that, we'll decide if we're going to move forward with public comment, and then we'll decide what we do with that main motion. So just so everybody's clear on how we'll handle that item. So. Okay, now at this time, we're going to take public input on any items that are not on the agenda. Please come forward.
Eric? Yep. Do we need to approve the agenda?
Oh, sorry, yes. So with that, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion, approve the agenda, Boots.
Second, Sweeter.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we'll move on to public comment. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Ventura, for being patient with us. I don't think
I
so.
don't think so.
I got it. Okay. I just wanted to thank you for the work you have done on the CO2 pipelines and the foresight you've shown in assessing the risk and protecting landowner and citizens' rights. If you read the PHMSA letter and the PUC decision, you know you were right by acting and passing a specific CDP ordinance. But it seems that one of the Lincoln County commissioners, not planning and zoning, wants to disregard the normal process, bending to his will. This is not democratic, but an exercise in restricting human rights. Where you have more money, you use the government to take land from its owners. These corporations building these pipelines are foreign owned. No one wants that in our state. How does one commissioner destroy the fundamental right of private property in our county with a complete lack of concern for Lincoln County citizens? We need to get an ordinance passed that preserves American landowner values, human rights, and protects century-old farms. I ask you tonight to reach across the table to the Lincoln County Commissioners and make a motion to form a meeting with the Planning and Zoning Board and Lincoln County Commissioners and put it on the docket tonight. Now is the time to get an ordinance written and passed with rational setbacks. Hopefully, we can ask for citizen input to have everyone familiarize themselves, long word, sorry, with the PHMSA letter, the PUC ruling, and other ordinances in counties in South Dakota have already adopted an ordinance for CDP and select pieces of that ordinance that work with Lincoln County. On Tuesday last week, the commissioners ordered 60-day review between the two boards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
My name is Todd Schultz, and I'm here to talk about the
Address-
47-732 279th Street.
Thank you, Todd.
I'd like to talk more. I talked Friday about the prison being put into an area just north and west of Canton here. I think that we haven't had enough input from the public on that. I think that the planning has just all of a sudden been there. I mean, it was just announced like a week and a half ago that it's going to be there, and there's no opportunity for the public to get on board with it, to even talk about it. It was like it was already decided already on. I don't know that that's the case, but it seems like that is being pushed as being a done decision. And I believe that the state does not have the right to do that, and I think that our representatives should have a look at that, and I think that it would be good if they did some studies on whether we would have the services, medical services, and legal services to provide for this kind of prison. I mean, this for the state prison to be moved into Minnehaha, or from Minnehaha County into Lincoln County, is a big deal. That they have had the services there for all these years. They have such a bigger, so much larger pool of attorneys and physicians and emergency facilities and we as a county, there's talk that this would be somehow good for our growth. Well, that's not the growth that may not be the growth that the citizens here in Lincoln County would like. I think that we should, as a county, decide that, and not just let the state decide whether this is a given. I would like to see some studies about it. I'd like to see some evaluation on. Minnehaha County has so much more experience. They have so much more resources that it's not unreasonable for us to take a step back and not just allow the state to decide this, for us as a county to push back a little bit and say, well, maybe it isn't quite legal for us to just do it without a conditional use report, a conditional use permit. Maybe it wouldn't be the best here in Minnehaha County or in Lincoln County. Maybe we should find out whether that is actually what our citizens would, and let the people in Lincoln County decide whether they would like it or not, or at least have some say-so. And it doesn't appear like that's the direction that we're going. It's anyway. That's mostly what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items? Yep. Come on up.
Clayton Hatley. I reside in Harrisburg, actually 2 miles north of where the prison site is appointed.
Can you just state your address, Clayton, then?
47545 275th Street.
Okay, thank you.
I spoke last Tuesday, and like I stated then, I'm not much of a speaker. But I stated not that I'm a combat veteran, but I also was employed at the penitentiary for 2 years. So danger is not new to me. I agree with the new facility. There's just, to me, myself, I was attacked at the prison myself, and they don't pay enough for that. But my main I guess what angers me more is I was trying to contact DOC and the governor's office this past week. Nobody got back to me every day. And supposedly they've known this for 15 months. And like I said, I'm straight north 2 miles from the site. By all rights, we should have to say so. Like I said, I'm not against a new facility. Working inside this old one. Tonight, a correctional officer got attacked. Serious facial injuries and everything. There's too many dark corners. But I don't like being not informed of what they want to do with this new facility. I'm not against it, but I'd like to know the whole story. And like I said, the governor's office, DOC's office is not getting back to me. And for 15 months, that's not right. That's about all I got to say.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the floor to public comment. And I don't know if we need to adjust the roll, but it looks like Commissioner Poppins has joined us, so add that to the record. Okay, Mr. Brown, agenda application number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Toby Brown, representing County Planning. This first item under public hearing this evening is an application to change the zone of approximately 6.2 acres from the RC Rec Conservation District and the RR Rural Residential District to the PD Plan Development District. Subject property is just to the west of the city of Harrisburg. Access is off of County Highway 110. This is right on the south side of Lake Alvin. Comprehensive plan, future land use map of the comprehensive plan currently identifies this property as future agricultural area. As you can see, a portion of the property, as I mentioned, the 1.2 acre parcel to the south is zoned RC Rec Conservation. That's a separate parcel from this piece here. That's the 5 acre piece that's zoned RR Rural Residential. The RR Rural Residential property was rezoned in 2014. From what we can tell from the minutes of that meeting, it was identified as non-viable agricultural property. So the entire yellow, as you can see on the screen, was rezoned in 2014. In 2017, that was replatted into 2 separate pieces. So the property to the east is under separate ownership and will remain RR Rural Residential. The property that's highlighted on the screen now, that area would be rezoned from those existing zoning to PD Plan Development District. As you can see, the surrounding zoning is primarily RC Rec Conservation. A lot of it to the north is owned by the State of South Dakota Game Fish and Parks as part of Lake Alvin, which is shown in blue on the screen there. Subject property, the entire 6.2 acres does have, for improvements, does have an existing agricultural structure, which should be on the 5 acre parcel. So we did have some discussions with the applicant. I think staff has had some ongoing discussions with this applicant over the last year and a half about potential different uses for the property. Identified through the applicant that they wanted to do a venue on the property. So staff at that time worked with the applicant to do a plan development district. The intent of the plan development district would be to limit the number of uses that would be on the property. If it was a straight rezone to commercial, there would be some additional uses that would be available, but essentially as a way to mitigate some of the commercial type uses that the neighbors might have objections to. As well as the subject property is under the subdivision or platting authority of the city of Harrisburg. The plan development allows us to work with the city of Harrisburg for them to approve the site development, site improvements on the property. So as you can see in the staff analysis, Staff did also provide plan development district regulations, and I'll get to that here. So again, a plan development is essentially, it's not a conventional zoning district. The county works with the applicant to identify applicable uses. So essentially, you're creating a new zoning district. And so this would be titled Lake Elvin Plan Development District. Uses permitted would be events facility and alcoholic beverage sales in conjunction with the events facility, hotel or motel. That would be within the events facility, is my understanding. And then on the, what I'll call the 1.2 acre parcel to the south, the applicant would propose to put an office, shop, staff quarters, kind of multi-combo use in there. And then the applicant did also identify that they would like some space for RV parking associated with events that might be at the facility, as well as we would retain agricultural uses on the property as well. And then the stipulations along with it would be parking and sign and density. Those would all fall under the regulations for a commercial district as far as what those standards are. And then through a plan development district, you create standards or regulations associated with it. And this was what we worked with the applicant on as far as some types of mitigation improvements as far as the hours of operation, no outdoor music past 11, and some of those different types of things in screening and buffering. So staff did receive this application, as I mentioned. I did work through some of the concerns with the property owner. There are, as I should have mentioned, there's two different property owners. The applicant is Joel McDowell, and he owns the 1.2 acre. The other applicant or property owner would be Arnold Zomerman, and he owns what is essentially the 5 acre parcel there. But through staff's analysis, we identified, looked at the comprehensive plan for Lincoln County and for the comprehensive plan for the city of Harrisburg, identified that this application would not be in compliant with those documents, as well as additional stipulations or regulations that we identified in the zoning. So staff did post the property. I recognize that there was some issues with the bridge being closed, so there was no direct traffic around it. The ordinance, though, requires that we post the property. The applicant did also notify within 500 feet of the property, properties of notification for this public hearing. Staff has received some calls regarding this application, and so no additional correspondence was received, though. We did encourage those people to come tonight. So as part of the analysis, staff did again identify that this is not in conformance with the county or the city's comprehensive plan. So staff does recommend denial of this application. So again, the role of the Planning Commission tonight is to make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Next month, there would be set up additional public hearing with the Board of Commissioners for this application. With that, I'd be happy to answer your questions that you have for staff at this time.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Toby, have you had any conversation with Harrisburg regarding this?
Yes, we did.
And I don't know if they're present or if you could potentially recap how that conversation's
I
gone.
don't think they're present this evening. So we did discuss, staff did feel, or, there was no real action taken by the city boards, but staff identified that they had been in communication with the applicant as far as the site plan, the site layout. They didn't find really any concerns with that. They did have concerns in general with how the neighbors would be impacted by the proposed use, though. So that would be my communication. The applicant certainly might have talked in addition with them too, so,
Thanks, Toby.
yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Brown?
Thank you.
I have one, Toby.
Okay, yep.
Can you just give us a rundown what RC Rec Conservation is?
Okay, so there is a zoning district within the zoning regulations for RC Rec Conservation. Typically, it's our floodplain areas, but since 1971, there was a layer that was put on different properties throughout the county, primarily along, I'll say, the Big Sioux River, but then it did filter off into some of these areas that identifies it as a specific district. The difference between the RC district and the agricultural A1 district, not much in terms of residential uses, but it does discourage different types of uses that might be an impact to the water, especially water quality is what I'll say on that part of it. But I don't know why that particular property was zoned RC Rec Conservation.
You what?
I don't know why exactly that particular parcel was zoned RC Rec Conservation.
But it was at one point.
It
and
is
then,
now, it is currently, yep, yep.
According to According to the map, it's yellow and it's rural residential.
So the 5 acre pieces, but the 1.2 acres not.
Repeat that? The yellow is what? And the
Oh, I see what you're saying,
Yeah,
Toby.
so
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So this is the
Okay.
piece that's petitioned for rezone.
Yeah,
This is a
So there's
separate
really two-
parcel. Yep.
yeah, so there's two, I guess that's the other thing I'm confused about. So there's basically two parcels that are asking.
Correct. Yep.
Is that possible to do in one application?
As a plan development, yes. Yep.
It is?
Yep.
Okay.
And I should say, and the applicant can talk more about this, he does have a pending minor plat to make that into one piece too, so, with the city of Harrisburg. Okay?
Oh, one last question. So on this, on the RC rec conservation, was that something that the county just put on these properties, or was that something that was wanted by the landowners, I guess? Or
No,
was
that-
it, it's just like a subdivision under A1 agricultural kinda?
No, it's a separate zoning district, and no, that particular piece was not petitioned by the landowner.
And I'm just wondering, because there's a lot of it around there.
Yep.
And so I'm assuming that there's a reason that all that is that way, and is it because of Lake Elvin?
I assume, but yeah, I don't know for sure. Yep.
So, and, sorry, I have so many questions, but, so the two pieces that are rural residential, were they RC conservation at one point before they were rural residential, do you know?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I got, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, will the applicant come forward and explain their application?
I'm Joel McDowell, 27677 469th Avenue, Lenox, South Dakota. Toby did a good job of explaining it. We've got two parcels. The one closest to the road is the recreational conservation piece. The one down below is rural residential. I initially looked at it for doing a rural residential development like Lakeview to the north. But as a developer, I look at all options, and I would have been remiss in not looking at the demand and the enjoyment of wedding venues. That idea I thought of, and so we came up with this layout. That layout actually is exactly, if you see the pad sites and where the actual venue is, which is the furthest to the north, 41 feet below the road elevation. That's exactly what the rural residential development would look like too, right at 1 acre pieces. But again, I wanted to vet this out and find out if it would be viable to do a wedding venue. The building on the front is with the wedding venue. There'll be different themes, and so to be able to move different furnishings, those types of things, to be able to move that in a separate facility down in there to stage it however the people that want the wedding to be. So it would be that type of storage that would be in there. The other plan would be is so I could have an on-site manager. It is in the country, and so I'd like to be able to have a facility manager, groundskeeper, whatever, be able to have them on site from a security standpoint. And then also, I like developing people as much as I like developing land. And so there's an opportunity to have hospitality majors come in for summer internships. And so I know the question will come up, what type of staff lodging? And that's what it would be, that type of setup. Design-wise, I've done some very minor conceptual drawings. I wasn't going to put a lot of time into it because if it doesn't come to pass, there's no point in investing that into it. And for me, this is a potential development opportunity. It's business. If the county determines it's a good fit for the area and for the people around it, so be it. If not, we'll either do 2 or 4 really nice houses out there.
All right, great. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Jungling.
Say, Joel, have you talked to the road district or the road superintendent about traffic and access?
I have not.
Okay. Would, I assume this would be a septic type system because there's no sewer?
Correct.
You would talk to Rural Water about the availability?
I have.
I would
Yeah.
think
It-
that'd be.
It would
some
require a holding tank, pressurized holding system. That would be my expense.
For
So
fire
we-
suppression and all
Yeah,
that?
we'd have to stock to be able to. Lodging wise, I'm sure that question will come up. Toby did cover it. The lodging will be within the facility, closest to the lake. And so, and that's basically, it's just gonna flank the Great Hall down the middle. The intent is, it would be very nice if there was, there's now Thursday weddings, Friday weddings, sometimes 2 on Saturday. That's best case scenario. If you drive by almost all of the wedding facilities, they sit pretty quiet. I noticed Saturday night, there was a nice wedding that was over at the one just west of Harrisburg. It's actually in Harrisburg. I just put up a house for my chiropractor. I said, can you hear it? And he said, yeah, we hear it, but we don't hear much. And that was feedback unsolicited that I got today, but I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Yeah, when there's an event, there's outdoor noise. I can't guarantee I'll own this thing forever. In fact, I can guarantee I won't own it forever. But while it's under my ownership, I will operate it just like everybody else. I've been to these weddings. My son had a wedding at one of those. And I really like the 11 p.m., lights on, get out, and doors locked by 12. My mom used to say nothing ever good happens after midnight, and I really believe that.
As we get older, it's earlier.
I can't even stay up to midnight. And that's another thing that I'll bring up too. Most of these people don't know me from a load of hay. Right, wrong, or otherwise, I'm pretty conservative. And yes, there'll be a liquor license there, but as long as I own this thing, one of the people behind the bar will be somebody that will also be keeping an eye on people. I don't tolerate, poor behavior, and it would be written, I'm a real contract guy. I'm a broker and a developer. In the wedding contract, should it come to fruition, it'll state in there that I reserve the right to kick anybody out at any time for any reason, because it's an investment. I won't allow somebody, and there's always some idiot that, has to show off, and they will be escorted. If not by, somebody in my staff, that would just call the sheriff.
Thank you, Joel.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Hey, Joel. I do know you from a
You look familiar.
stack of hay, so. In your plan development, I see 2 structures in what's presented today. But is there a document that you've prepared with all and plans that you might have on the property? Because that's a lot of when it's not going through a regular rezone, it's a plan development, and a lot of that stuff is up to the development. But given the sensitivity I'm going to express because of the crowd that we have here, I think it would be prudent to have that in a document of all things that will go on, hours of operation, those types of things being entered into that plan development for purposes so people can understand what your plans are fully. I know you're trying to minimize the amount of expenses, and I would do the same. But given that, I think having the plan development expressed a little more in detail probably would be prudent.
Yeah, and that's a fair request, and I'd be happy to do it. It will be conservative, that I can guarantee. Monday through Friday, best case scenario, I'm looking to offer off-site meetings, churches, municipalities. Somebody in Lincoln County expressed it'd be a great place to go have an off-site where you can get away from the phone. And so and again, that's pretty quiet. One of the plans for the parking pad sites towards the backside, I've been camping since I was in Cub Scouts. My definition of camping now is a lot different. It slides out, has 50 amps. And we're from South Dakota. I mean, if you could go to a wedding, and if you're in the wedding party, and you can have your niece watch the kids at the camper, and then while you go do whatever you have to do for the wedding, and then stay overnight. And I have been camping down at Lewis and Clark for 23 years, and it's just standard operating procedure. You go camping, there's quiet hours, and in the morning, people clean up. Most people leave it cleaner than they found it. It's also what I learned in Boy Scouts. And they go home, because they're gonna come back in 3 weeks, and they can't get kicked out of the place. I see the same people down at Lewis and Clark every other weekend.
Well, good. Any other questions? We good? All right. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, anybody else in favor of the application, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the floor. 2 people in favor, and we'll open the floor now to people in opposition of the application. And as a reminder, please limit your comments to 5 minutes. State your name and address for the record.
My name is
And try to keep things new and pertinent.
My name is Rebecca Johnson, 47890 Prairie Circle in Harrisburg. I'm 800 yards south of the proposed event center. I want to start by saying that Joel said that he wants to develop people and establish relationships. I find the timing of this rezoning request very interesting. He hid all of this from the residents because he knew we weren't going to be happy. That sign is behind a road close sign. The only resident that should be seeing that sign is the one directly across the street. There's no reason for any traffic to be on the other side of that. If I were to buy 15 acres and ask to do a development and plant that sign in the middle of the 15 acres where nobody could see it, that is absolutely equivalent to what happened here. My dad accidentally, looking for the planning meetings from minutes from last one, found this proposal, and I went door knocking. That is and I don't want to take credit for all of it, but I went door knocking. No one knew that this proposal was even here. And if nothing else, that needs to be changed, because posting a rezoning notice behind a road close sign where no one can see it should never, ever happen again. Never, ever. Now, from what I understand, this is the event center in the middle of Harrisburg that's going to be moved to this location. It might be a rumor, but he keeps saying, as long as I own it. He's a real estate agent. Rumor has it, there's somebody who's going to move the event center from the city of Harrisburg, and they're going to move it to that location. I can't say if it's true or not. But my neighbor did leave a message as well, and he can't be here. So I do want to read that, because I think he's probably going to say it better than I could. Dear esteemed members of the Planning Commission, I'm writing to express our strong opposition to PD 0063-2023. I will save you the description. We reside at 47891 Prairie Circle, and we, as well as other various residents in our neighborhood, are completely and vehemently opposed to the addition of some sort of event center, complete with liquor license and parking lots. This rezoning would absolutely cause incessant traffic buildup, notable safety problems, unwanted noise concerns, disruption of the local wildlife habitat, and would lower the property values of the existing community. We feel very confident in stating that the vast majority of hardworking residents of this area live on or bought acreages away from town for a specific and definite common reason. We all very much appreciate our privacy, our security, serenity, which again is a major factor in why we purchased or built homes outside of a busy town. Commercial property, particularly of this nature, with its unbridled noise, traffic at all hours, alcohol distribution, and real safety concerns, simply does not belong in a residential neighborhood. Furthermore, it was unmistakably not lost on many of us that the proposed rezoning sign was posted on a closed road where essentially no one could easily view it. This itself points to the dubious nature of trying to insert an unwanted business into our literal backyard. We are certainly available to clarify or answer any questions you may have of us regarding this topic, but we strongly request that you deny this rezoning attempt. Thank you all very much for your time and attention. Dr. Lou George, Gina George, and Joyce George. And I would also like to say, if he was willing to try to hide this and request this rezoning when that road was closed, is he going to lie to us residents about what's going to go on it? How late it's going to go on? I don't trust it. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm assuming so.
My name is Richard Cook, 47894 Prairie Circle, Harrisburg, South Dakota. We ask only that you address the requirements of the regulations of the planning and zoning requirements and the county and Harrisburg comprehensive plans. This is not a NIMBY. This is not a not in my backyard. This is simply a case of the zoning does not allow it. We didn't move out there with the intent of living in a commercial district. If we wanted to, we would have stayed in Sioux Falls. We could have bought a house within a half a block or 3 blocks of commercial if we wanted to live next to it. We chose to move out in the country in an area that was not a commercial area. And the only other non-residential use that I'm aware of in that area is the RC Recreation Conservation District out there, which are very closely regulated as I understand it. I ask merely that you be mindful of our investment in the area and our respect for the rules and regulations that currently exist in the planning and zoning requirements and the existing comprehensive plans, and please recommend denial of this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh,
Chase Koskovich, 27203 Cedar Ridge Court outside of Harrisburg. I'm the Lakeview Estates HOA president. I believe some of my cohorts are here today, but for those that aren't able to make it, our estate in general is vehemently against this proposal. Dr. George's letter from that Ms. Johnson read, we pretty much reiterate all of that. The reason we moved out into the country to get away from the hustle and bustle, the noise, things of that nature. So I just want to state that the Lakeview Estates, which is about a half a mile northeast of this plan, is vehemently against this. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, next.
Leonard Iwinski, 27327 479th Avenue. I'm actually one property away, but I agree with the last few people that came up. I also want to add that I think this is going to, or could open a can of worms for other commercial property. I also want to say that in the past, when I bought my property, I wanted to use it partially for commercial. They told me no because they didn't have the water facility, they didn't have the police to take care of that and I don't know, there was some other, but they said they didn't have the resources to maintain that use. So, just wanted to make that aware. But again, I agree with everyone else that has opposed it, the reasons. We moved out there, for, in the commercial use that I wanted was just a storage area. Okay, it wasn't, open to the public. But that's my complaint. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else?
Raleigh Fink, 27275 479th Avenue, Harrisburg. I'm here kind of more to represent my mother probably than anything, but 7 years ago, 6 to 7 years ago, she sold that 5 acres as to have a little nest egg to, rely on in her old age. At that time, it was told it was gonna build one house on there. Well, then it got resold 2 years ago, whatever it was, and it was proposed to put 4 houses on there, and even proposal that Joel brought to us to maybe even take another 3 acres that she has yet and develop that also in the future, whenever we wanted to do that. We really don't want an event center there. She doesn't. I mean, it just, I don't think it's beneficial to where we're at and what we want with that property. If he wants to put houses up there, we're fine with it. That's kind of what the general consensus was when we sold it in the first place. I'm gonna help Joel out here a little bit. He didn't put that sign up. That was not him. He wasn't trying to hide anything. So don't stab him in the back, you know, for what he didn't have anything to do with. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thanks, Raleigh. I think you're next, sir.
Thank you. Mike Nerland, 47857 273rd Street. First of all, I want to say I'm in complete agreement with all of the opponents of this project as well. And I live within 1,300 feet of this, and I have not been approached either. So nobody has asked our opinion. We've had 24 hours to sort of absorb and prepare and gather an intelligent response to this. And I guess what I would state or request, not repeating what anybody else has brought to the table, but to keep in mind as well, in a country setting, the serenity, the safety of our kids. Our kids right now can play on the roads. Our pets run, and I don't know, I've not heard anything about traffic studies. I've not heard how many times this center will be used each week. There's so many variables that haven't been covered that I as well would recommend that you deny this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You bet.
Dean Lucid, 27313 Meadow Ridge Road. I mostly going to echo. I didn't want to come up and echo what everybody said, but yeah, we feel the same way. I'm now the president of Meadow Ridge, and with the amount of time we had, I didn't really get a lot of feedback because it was all, as it was said, scrambled to get here and figure this out. But you know, same ideas, concerns about all the noise, the different traffic. Like I said, I can echo all the same thing. We have kind of a steep hill coming up to our entrance to our development, which can be a concern with cars coming up the road. Just, you know, another piece to the puzzle. You know, so there's just a lot of unanswered questions with this proposed project. So I also, and I believe many of the people in our development would request denial of this as well.
All right, thank you. Okay, next.
My name is Jessica Cook, 47898 Prairie Circle, Harrisburg. My husband wasn't able to be here, but we both want this to be denied. I echo, Rebecca, everything that's been said, but one point that has not been brought up is with the event center is a liquor license. We live in the country. We don't live in town. Uber, Lyft, taxis, it's very hard to get out into the country, and this is a concern. Anytime you have an event center, you may try to control the alcohol, but there's no way to control it. People are going to bring their own alcohol. We're going to have increased amount of drunk drivers on our road. How are they going to get home from these events? You can ask people to bring a DD, but there's no guarantee for that. We have kids. I moved to the country to live in the country. We moved there for peace, quiet, not a lot of traffic. With this event center, all that goes away. So our main concern is the alcohol, and there's no way to control that. As well, we echo everything else that has been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Steve Davis, 27308 Meadow Ridge Road. I would look at this property, I do look at this property out my back window. I happen to go to bed at 9 o'clock, so that 11 p.m. cutoff for sound is too late for me. On that basis alone, I'd encourage you to deny this My wife goes to bed even earlier. She's an OBGYN. She has to get up and deliver babies at all hours of the night. Not anymore because she works in Chamberlain, but nonetheless, she still goes to bed much earlier than 11 p.m. The sound is only a concern because it's on top of water. It carries much further than it does on agricultural land, which is rough and acts to absorb the sound. The water does not do that. It will carry much, much further. The canyon, well, the ravine or whatever you want to call it, the stream that feeds Lake Alvin comes into is going to channel that sound right up into the developments to the south side of Lake Alvin. As Dean mentioned, he is our president of our HOA, and there are a number of people from our HOA here. But we did only have 24 hours because we had no notice that this was going to be here, that this rezoning was going to be tonight. That steep hill that Dean mentioned, our entrance to our development is a blind entrance. There are many times that I have had to slam on my brakes. You stop at the stop sign, you wait for traffic, you pull out onto Highway 110 or 273, whatever you want to call it, and a car has been coming up that hill, and you have to stop, or you have to accelerate very quickly and hope they don't rear end you. In either case, it doesn't matter. If we have even more traffic now coming up that hill, and I doubt that most people are going to go to the east, maybe they will, but I doubt it. I imagine most people are going to come to the west and go back into Harrisburg or Sioux Falls or somewhere else further into South Dakota. That's a tremendous amount of traffic, regardless of the increase. We just don't need that additional traffic at a blind entrance, and there's no way to fix that blind entrance. So I strongly encourage you to, at the very least, postpone a decision, and even more so to just deny this outright. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, come on up.
My name's Lorena McKercher, 27234 Cedar Ridge Court. And I guess my thought is we're missing a huge piece of this puzzle is what's going to happen to Lake Alvin. As we build this almost directly onto the shore, what's going to be the results of what's the studies on the runoff? What's the studies on the water quality and how it's going to be affected and those kinds of things? And so I would like to see that addressed as well. Up to this point, I'd have to say no.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, Sandy Braun, 27395 470th Avenue, Lenox, South Dakota. However, my parents live right across the street from the driveways match up. I'm concerned with the safety of, again, they're talking about the blind hill. We have it on the other side, and it's right where they're going to be turning in and out. There's just a lot of concerns there with traffic. A year ago, Joel brought the proposal about the housing to us. Until 2 nights ago, I did not know anything about this either, being changed from building houses to this venue. And we're right across the road. The traffic, the lights, all the cars turning around. We have cars turning around now with the road closed, but it's just, there's just too much concern there. And so I would ask that you deny this also. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yes, I'm Barb Christensen, 47898 273rd Street, Harrisburg. I'm right there. I sold that property, hoping there would be maybe a couple houses in there. I'd have some neighbors where it would stay nice and quiet. And if this event center would go up, it would be basically, I don't know how many feet from my kitchen window. And if they get in the wrong driveway, they're going to come in mine, they're going to be turning around, such as that. And for that reason, I've lived there for 50 years, and it's pretty calm and quiet there, and I'd like to stay it that way. Thank you. Dina
Thank you.
Ives.
Yeah, come on up.
Chris Nordquist, 27219 Cedar Ridge Court. I guess one thing that I noticed in the application or the petition as well is the discussion for living quarters, camper spots, things like that. Sounds like the beginnings of a campground to me. And what is to prevent this from becoming a full-on campground year-round? Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, anybody else?
Can I come back?
Sure.
One quick thing. Okay, nobody has talked about, we have a state park right there. It's right there. And what is that going to do to the state park? Something to consider.
Thanks. Okay, with that, as long as there isn't anybody else that wants to come forward, state your address. I'm gonna send you all Christmas cards since we got a bunch of new addresses. We're gonna close the floor to public comment, and I'll entertain a motion for approval so that we can have a discussion.
I'll make a motion to approve jungling.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded, so we'll have discussion.
Feel like I'm on the clock here. I want to thank everyone, first of all, for coming. I want to thank Joel for presenting. And I want to follow up on Mr. Fink. If anyone's to blame, I'll take the blame for that sign. It falls under our responsibility for posting that sign. It was not him that put that sign up. Want to get that confirmed. So if anybody's to blame, you get to blame me. But that being said, Joel definitely is trying to put something in front of us to look at. That's our job, to look at and try to make a decision. Anytime you've heard it, this board, anybody in the audience that's heard my opinion of development outside in the rural areas, our job is to try to have organized growth in the rural areas. We try to encourage under our existing comp plan, adjacent or inside municipalities where you have services, sewer, water, fire protection, sheriff's or police department, those types of things. That being said, there are and have been and will continue to be changes of use out in the rural areas. I think it's a nice idea. I just don't, I'm at this time not, with the limited amount of information, able to support this at this time. Not being said, I do think it will make a nice residential area if he proceeds to that way. But those are my thoughts at this time. Now, with that, I am going to remind everyone this will go in front of the full Board of Commissioners for consideration. I will say that this board listens very carefully and interprets the comprehensive plan, I think, as closely as possible to its intent. I will also say when it gets to the commission level, there's politics and decisions that go above and beyond that have to take into consideration. So whatever decision is here tonight, I would encourage everyone to make sure they stay diligent and follow this through either way they feel on this, because it's not a final decision until it goes in front of the planning or the full commission. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Poppins. Okay, next. Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman.
Mr. Jungling.
I wrote down a couple of notes, and Commissioner Poppins got a lot of them. I'm sure he said a lot better than I would have. But again, yes, I do. Everyone's going to have to understand this will be developed at some point, some way. So what it is, it will change from what it is right now. It won't have the same setting as it has right now. My concerns up here is always about the county, number one, and the residents, and the police services, the fire services there. Going out there in that far of an area, I know it's closer to Harrisburg, but you got those roads and you got all that. That is an issue for me. I do like the development. I think it's a great concept, but again, in that residential type area, I just don't think it fits. Another area, I think it would fit just fine. So, and then just again, the additional traffic with the blind hills and all that, there will be more traffic as it develops, as there's more houses, but, it won't be Saturday and Friday nights when we have events. So that's my thoughts. I'm not going to support the recommendation for rezone.
Thank you. Commissioner Jungling?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I concur with what's been said so far. We hear, it's not uncommon, we hear about these event centers. Recently, we approved one in Lenox, right outside of Lenox. In that case, the city came and was fully supportive of having an event center, a half mile east of town. I think this being where it's at and the opposition to everything beyond that, I will not be supportive of the application.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I will also like to thank Joel bringing this forward and everybody coming out here tonight to speak. It's nice to see everybody get involved with things that are going on out in the county. The notes I wrote down, the one that I came up with most was the danger of that intersection. And I've driven that when it's not been closed, and it would be a tough spot for people to come in and out. I think it would be a nice place for some houses to be developed, kind of an original plan, and it sounds like Joel would still be open to doing something like that. So as it's presented now, I would oppose.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Sweeter?
Yes, I would like to say, while this really looks like a good plan, my concern is that Mr. McDowell says that he's not going to own it forever. So what's to say what the next owner is going to do? Well, Mr. McDowell has the greatest intent, and I have no reason to believe otherwise. I do have concerns of what happens when it does get sold. I truly think that a rural residential setting is much better in this place.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just going to close with a few of my comments, and first of all, I want to thank everybody, the applicant and the opponents, for being here and being part of this process. I think it's good when people are involved and they want to understand this and be part of it. And then for just being so civil and good about this. This isn't always the case when we have large crowds, so I really want to commend you guys for how you conducted the public comment tonight. So, and thanks to Commissioner Poppins, just for reminding everybody, and I want to make sure everybody understands that this isn't a final decision, whatever we do tonight, okay? All this is a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. They ultimately will have the final decision. So whether we vote yes or no, all that is a recommendation to them. They will hear it and they will have a vote. So don't think that tonight's decision is final, okay? Just, a few things, I've got a lot of notes here. The rest of the board has done a good job of covering them, but I like to just pull a few points out of here. And Commissioner Sweeter said it, these decisions are forever, and that's one of the things I really take into consideration whenever we have a rezone, is we can have the best intentions, and Mr. McDowell probably does, and I don't doubt that, but when we make this decision, it's for a lot of years, and I can see in areas in the county, and we see in areas of the county where we made those decisions 20, 30 years ago, and now we look back and maybe they weren't the best decisions, right? And the fact that it's planned development, and I understand why we have planned development, and I understand that there's areas that need that, but it is one of the tougher things that I struggle with, because in my mind, in my small little Norwegian brain, it tells me that it doesn't fit anything else, and so now we have to create its own, its own zone so that we can make it fit. And I always, not always, most of the time I struggle with those types of rezones. And then when we look around the area, I mean, you just pull up the zoning map and it just it really wouldn't fit the area. And so with those things and you know, the road authority obviously concerns me. I mean, I think we've got issues with, when you talk to the highway department and the folks out there, increased traffic is definitely one of their concerns, as Mr. Floyd stood here and told us not too long ago. And so this obviously isn't gonna reduce traffic. So with that, you know, unfortunately, I won't be able to support it either tonight. And so with that, does anybody have any last comments? Okay, we'll call the roll. Commissioner Jungling? No. Commissioner Boots?
No.
Commissioner Sweeter?
No.
Commissioner Poppins?
No.
Commissioner Green?
No.
Commissioner Scott is also a no. So, thanks, everybody, and stick around. We got 2 more fun items to get educated on planning Lincoln County. Everybody's leaving. What the heck? You can watch it on YouTube later.
I think it was something you said.
Must have been. That's not uncommon. Yeah, have a good night.
Eric.
Are you guys at least gonna stay?
There's a Cowboys game on.
Okay, Mr. Brown, once you got a path to the podium, would you want to come and present agenda item number 2?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I would like to recuse myself from item number 2.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Boots.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, Toby Brown, representing County Planning. The second item before you this evening is an application for a conditional use permit for a contractor shop and storage yard. This property is adjacent to the city of T. Subject parcel is 1.1 acres in size. It is zoned I-1 light industrial, as well as the surrounding properties. Sundowner Avenue is just to the east of this property, but the access would be off of the private subdivision road that would be just to the west of this lot. Subject lot is not improved. It is, as is the 3 lots to the south of it. The applicant is the contractor for the project. The landowner does own all 4 parcels that are along the stretch there. So the applicant did submit a concept plan with the application proposal for 11,220 square foot contractor shop. It would be 5 separate units. There would be storage, outdoor storage to the rear of about 7,000 square feet, a little over 7,000 square feet. That would be fenced, very similar to other units that the applicant has developed. As part of this process within the city of T, we do have an informal arrangement with the city of T where they do review site plans for properties within their subdivision authority. Prior to us, going through this process, the city staff does work with the applicant. It is then reviewed by the planning commission, a recommendation given to the city council. So the city of T does have a pretty thorough vetting process for these site plans. As you can see in the staff analysis, the applicant, as far as the standards and the regulations, there is no specific performance standards for a contractor shop and storage yard. So it is consistent with the standards of the zoning regulations and the comprehensive plan. The applicant did notify staff, actually, that there was some concern with the city council of the city of T. So as I mentioned, through the site approval process, the city council of T did deny the site plan. And so we had some discussions with staff from the city of T, I know, as well as the applicant does. But at this stage, we're looking at the zoning component of it. And so as I mentioned, this property is zoned I-1 light industrial. This use is appropriate for that area, as well as I believe city staff would contend with that as well. There was some concern with, I won't speak for the city council, But as you're aware, Sundowner will be expanded and developed beyond what it is currently now. And so there was some concern, you have city limits sort of on both sides of that, as far as maybe what I'll say is the use component of it. So there was some kind of, this was an interesting process to go through. So at this stage, I think staff still recommends approval of the application, contingent on the 6 conditions that were placed in the staff report. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Toby, just let me clarify, please, or would you clarify, please? The city of T has looked at the site plan, and
So-
they have denied it?
So the city staff, which is the city engineer,
Yep.
reviewed it and approved it.
Okay.
The planning commission recommended approval of it. When it got to the city council for approval, the city council denied the site plan.
Okay.
So how does that, I mean, how's that play into our decision?
So I've had a lot of dialogue with city staff about what are some options that we could do along those lines. I guess what I would recommend is, I know the applicant has had additional discussions. I would let him come up, and then if you have additional questions for me, I'll
Okay.
certainly weigh into that, but I would go with that approach, so.
I guess just one off the top of my head. So if we were to approve it, even though T has denied it, can he still move forward with his project?
Yes, yeah. Because our approval is essentially zoning approval of it.
Got it.
Yeah.
But for us to issue a building permit, we would need the city to sign off on the site plan, would we not?
I would hope, yeah.
No, there's no hope. It's a yes or a no.
Is it a yes or no? Well, it's complicated. So it's an informal agreement we have with the city of T. But I think that, again, I'll defer to the applicant. I'm still having ongoing dialogue with the city. He's had more discussions with the city as well, so.
Okay.
If you want to, so there is a couple options, the couple options, and I have discussed this with the city and with the applicant. The one option is you postpone, I won't say table, you postpone this decision, which would allow us to go to the council in November to identify what these issues are. That does hold up the applicant. The other option is you add a condition to talk about the T City Council approval.
What's that?
We would add a 7th condition and say contingent on city approval. Okay?
Okay.
Which has been our informal understanding to this point.
Till this point, yep.
So we're trying, with that, we would be simply clarifying our informal agreement.
Yep.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Thank you, Toby.
Well, yeah. I'll wait.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, and the applicant come forward?
Chad Javers, 6900 Joven Circle in Sioux Falls.
Okay.
Javers Construction. I'm working with Madison Lawn Care. They purchased actually all 4 lots that are in this line. They're looking at, so they're also across the street right on Sunrise Avenue. They're looking at doing some rental units here. And then on the corner of Sunset and Sundowner, in the future, I don't know what that year plan is, then they would like to build Madison Lawn Care corporate office there. I'll be honest, it's a little goofy for me too. I've done a lot of these with you guys and never ran into this issue. I did speak at lengths with Kevin back and forth. This kind of initially started out with questions on parking requirements, and they were kind of honestly against the use that I was putting there. Put the bad check mark, if you will, on it being called a contractor shop. The straight up question that I felt that I got was, when I spoke to Kevin today, that their envision of Sundowner Avenue is kind of retail centers and hotels, if you will. My customer purchased this property as it's the light industrial, of course, and these spaces are permitted in this use. I'm building 7 of these projects across the street on Sundowner Avenue and in the city limits of T. So I I kind of know the underlying issue, I guess, if you will. And I kind of explained to Toby, I don't necessarily agree with the denial from the city of T, as my site plan was approved by the engineer and by planning and zoning, because it fits everything, but essentially what I want to build there, they don't want, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. I guess the other question that Mike had said was, can I get my building permit? And one of the emails I got was, it falls back to the county, it's their jurisdiction. So the informal email I have, I read it that way, so not to put everyone in a tough spot.
Questions for the applicant?
I got one thing, other thing to, I did actually tell Kevin today I would be more than happy to go, and even if it was just a private sit down, or if he wanted me to start a formal email chain, or he wanted to start something, so I could have city council understand a little bit more of what my customer's wanting to do there as a whole. So it doesn't look like just one contractor shop going in and right on their main arterial street that they see in the future, I guess.
Mr. Javers, on the north side, there's storage parking.
Correct.
Who, would that be leased out by the contractors of the shops
Yes.
themselves, or would that be
Yep.
a separate?
So there would be individual yards for each individual customer behind the unit. Only access through their own unit.
And I didn't see it, maybe I missed, is there a fence all the way around
There's
the
a
building?
screen fence all the way around, yes.
We have had issues with people, contractors on the other properties with a north-facing cornfield, and they kind of keep developing into the
Correct,
field.
yes, this is a barrier, yep, it's an actual fence.
Chad, or Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Mr. Javers, unfortunately, I think we're going to have to defer to give some more time to get some issues resolved.
Sure.
That's my thought at this point. Obviously, it is similar in nature of other activities in the area.
Yes.
But things have changed as T has grown and their requirements and
Yeah.
such, so.
Yep.
I think it'd be prudent for us to delay. I'm not speaking for the whole board, that's my thought. To give you more time to maybe work out some of those details that the
Sure.
city would make them a little more understanding to what's going on there for planning. Because, their site plan is going to drainage, which is definitely within what they need to have.
Yes, and that was approved, yes.
But somehow the council didn't like it.
Correct, they don't.
And as I had stated earlier about the planning and zoning on rezoning, it doesn't matter, unfortunately, until the commission, or in their case, the council votes on it. So, and it clearly got voted down. They didn't table it, they didn't give you an option.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
Yeah.
And that puts us in a bad spot.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? Good, thank you. Anybody else in favor of the application, please come forward. Anyone opposed, please come forward. Okay, we'll close the floor to public comment, and Toby gave us a couple options. I'm gonna give you one more that we could do, because in order to table or postpone, we have to have a main motion on the floor, but if we want to amend the agenda, we can make a motion to do that and just take this agenda item and amend it into next month's meeting. And then we wouldn't have to entertain a main motion, we could put it back on the agenda and deal with public comment, and you wouldn't have to deal with this, we wouldn't have to have a motion to deal with, for next month. So, if we want to do that and give Mr. Javers some time, I guess that's the motion I'd like to see, but, whatever you guys want to do. Otherwise, we can do a motion to approve, and then we can table or postpone that motion. Or we can vote on it.
I'll make a motion to move it to next month's agenda.
Okay.
I'll second that. All respect for City of T, which is their growth area.
Okay. So we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion on moving, and the motion and the second is to remove the item from this month's agenda, put it on next month's agenda, basically.
Correct.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I have a question for staff, Mr. Brown. Clarify for a person or entity that wants to appeal a decision from the board, that takes how long to get it to the commission and have them hear it?
So the appeal period would be within 5 days, and then we would set it, typically the commission sets it for their third meeting of the month.
So that would be another option. We could take action if it was, either way, was not voted the way that one party or the other, they could simply appeal it, which is an automatic extension in time, and let the commission make a decision. Just another option. Not supporting that, I'm just making sure that one is aware of that. So, thank you.
Okay, so we've got a motion on the floor and a second to amend the agenda. Take this item, move it to next month's agenda. So with that, I'll do the roll. Commissioner Jungling?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeter?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott is also a yes. So we'll see you next month, Mr. Javers, and see if we can get some stuff figured out. So, thank you. Yeah, so, item number 3, we've got a motion on the floor from last month's meeting. It's my understanding that there's maybe some new and relevant information that staff would like to share with us, so we've decided to let staff come up and share that with us. And then from there, we'll decide if we want to continue on with public comment. So, Mr. Brown?
So as the chair said, this item was before you last month. This again is a garden center that would be just to the west of east of the city of Harrisburg on 110, which should be the access. Subject property is approximately 40 acres in size. So at the last meeting, there was some discussion about what is a garden center. As staff noted, there is no definition within the zoning ordinance for that. But typically what you would do in absent a definition is you would find the most appropriate one. So our code of ordinances for Lincoln County allows us to do a word search, term search throughout. Just so happened that when we did that term search, and this is our hosting service is all over the United States, so there's multiple jurisdictions. Staff did find a definition, happens to be City of Rapid City for a garden center. Staff did update the staff report to include that, which is a retail or wholesale establishment consisting of one or more of the following uses: greenhouses, tree or plant nurseries, and landscaping, sales, and service. And again, that was taken from the City of Rapid City's Code of Ordinances. As well as there was some note from the Planning Commission members that they wanted staff to work with the applicant to identify a little bit more of kind of what was occurring on the property, what would be occurring on the property. So the applicant did work with staff, did update the site plan accordingly. So there would again be the office, shed, what I'll call for storage on the property, as well as the applicant did shrink the outdoor storage to 1 acre in size opposed to 2 acres. Did identify that there would be a nursery type tree farm on the property, approximately 2 acres in size, which is shown on the plan, as well as the existing house would be removed, a new house would be built. So again, staff's analysis is that with the definition that it was proposed, that this application would be consistent with that definition as well as previous ones historically that the county has approved for a garden type center. As well as the applicant, I believe, has talked to all of the neighbors in the area from the first public hearing, identified that really what's going to be occurring on the site is what we would call off-site retail. There won't be any real on-site retail on the property, but a lot of what I'll call the landscaping type tree business would be occurring off-site on the property, so there should be little impacts to it. And again, I think one of the initial concerns that staff had, even with the applicant, was experience that the county has had with approving these types of operations. And then, as you mentioned in the first item tonight, is, what happens when someone else purchases the property and what's restrictions there. So from the beginning, staff had always recommended that one of the conditions would be is that we would lock in what this operation is as of today, and that any expansion of it would require a new conditional use permit. So it would limit what we've experienced with previous garden centers that occurred in the county. I believe these conditions as recommended would restrict that with it. So with that, that's really the new and relevant information, would be the new site plan, and then a proposal for a definition for that. And with that, I guess if there's any questions for staff at this time.
The conditions are all the same as last one.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, and I don't remember, but the site plan really didn't change. It just looks like well, I shouldn't say it didn't change. It just looks a lot more detailed than what we probably had last month. Okay.
Yep, I would agree. Yep.
Any other questions for staff?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Toby. Okay, before we have any questions for the applicant, like I said, we still have a motion out there, so we're still in discussion. So we can have discussion. Let's have a little discussion and find out, would anybody, I guess, is there anybody that wants the applicant to come up and ask questions? You want to ask them questions?
I would ask,
Okay.
him to come forward, just because we've had some changes
Sure.
in a month and
Yeah.
might be
Welcome
some more
back.
information.
Hey, how are you guys?
Great.
I'm Alex Friest, 46791, 270th Street T.
Okay. Go ahead. Mr.
Alex,
Conley.
since last time we talked, I know we talked about, you had 2 acres planned one time for outdoor storage, and now you're down to 1 acre. which
Yes.
I do like to see.
We figured we'd move some of the equipment, to Iowa, make it a little more presentable. This storage for equipment will be on the north side of the building. It will not be visible to any neighbors or any traffic going on the highway.
So it will be fenced in?
It'll be fenced in, surrounded by spruce trees. We're gonna be planting a lot of trees, not only for the tree farm to sell, but the whole property is basically gonna be covered in trees over time.
And if I remember right, one time we talked about 12 employees. Did I read that in there?
Yep, there would be anywhere from 8 to 12 employees. Since our last meeting, I think it was like the 18th of September, is when I took ownership of this property. We have spent 2-3 weeks extensively cleaning up this property. I think a lot of people in the area have really appreciated that. I've actually had some of the neighbors come out, like Mike Bunsnick, I believe, Bursnick. He's the developer that was here last time, just had some, questions about some stuff, and he's totally on board with what I'm doing, and he's very happy that stuff's getting cleaned up, and we're gonna do what we're gonna do. So he was all in favor of it.
I would agree that it needs some property cleaning, so thank you for that.
Took a lot of time.
Any more questions?
Based on the staff report, do you agree with the 7 conditions that are listed?
What's that?
Based on the conditions listed in the staff report, do you agree that you can comply with all of those conditions?
100%, and I also wanted to be known, I don't think it was said last time, that, there's gonna be no debris on this property. There's gonna be no wood chip piles, grass piles, log piles, nothing like that on here.
Would you be opposed to an additional condition? You said you're planning on fencing in your outdoor storage anyway. Would you be opposed to that condition added?
Absolutely. The only thing I talked to Toby about is.
You would be, or absolutely not, you wouldn't be?
No, we could
Okay.
put that in. Yes,
okay,
yes.
yeah.
That's something we would definitely want done. The only thing I talked to Toby about, he seemed to be okay with it at the time, is if this was granted, if we started the shed, if you would give me till like the 15th of May to get it completely fenced in, just because we're getting a little late in the year right now with doing some dirt work and stuff. We could put any date in there for a condition as that you guys want, so.
Mr. Chair, I think that wouldn't that fall under condition number 4 anyway?
I don't, should be no unsecured or I suppose, maybe, huh?
Rather than add a new condition, as long as we're all in agreement that that's.
There's no date on that, but if you guys certainly wanted to add a date, I
Unsecured
would
or
be okay with that.
Is that what condition number 4 is intended to mean, Toby? Okay. Verbiage outside of my vocabulary.
Words.
Seems backwards to me, but yeah. Huh? Yeah, I can see that. You gotta remember I graduated from Canton. So anyway, any other questions for the applicant? Are we good down there? Okay, thank you.
So, thanks.
Okay, so, yes, Commissioner Pop.
Let me get my microphone on. I do have a couple clarity questions for staff.
Yeah, Toby, could you come back?
Hey, Mr. Brown, Toby, if I may. I'm just trying to reflect on other similar activities that we've dealt with in the past. This application is on an ag zone property, correct?
Correct.
He's going to be residing on the property, correct?
Correct.
Can you brief me again on a major home occupied business? What are the stipulations on those or qualifications for those?
Yeah, great question. So, in reviewing it in discussions with the applicant, as he stated, the number of employees would not meet the requirements of a major home occupation.
What is that number for a major?
4.
4.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep.
Brown.
Thank you.
So, no, I'm not done, sorry. Because this will be a precedent if we do approve it. I think we haven't had a lot of this. We've had some, but I don't know that we've had a lot of it.
We've had 5 within the last 3 years.
We have a property west of T, without stating the property. Would that be a similar condition, or I don't know if that one's ever been completely resolved. There were some issues on that one. I'm trying not to say the name Toby, but it would be directly west of T, 1 mile. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I think we're in compliance with that project.
We are now in compliance on that one. That one took quite a bit. Did that one go through a conditional use permit?
So
Because it had a review period or something.
So if we're talking the same page, which sometimes we're not, but it's, I believe that's a major home occupation you're referencing.
That one's under a
It
major.
is, yes.
Yes.
How I remember it, yes.
Yep, that's how I remember it too.
We
So,
all
but
think
if-
it's the right one, which probably means it's not the right one, but we're on the same page.
I think we're on the right page
Yeah.
then.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember what the final decision was on that one. Thank you for that clarity.
Yep.
But that property would be similar to this and possibly wanting to do a conditional use permit. Again, we do one, if they're similar, we should be doing them for them all. So I know that, we always have caution, and I appreciate what this board has done over the years in making sure that we understand what precedents set. And again, I think this gentleman has got neighbors that support him, which is a definite plus. And the understanding that he's living there. Again, as Ms. Commission person Sweeter here indicated, it will change hands eventually, and we don't know what happens then after that. So anything that we can do today to try to caution to that would be beneficial. So I will be supporting a motion to grant him his use, but we need to understand that other properties will be coming because of it and continue to come. So thank you.
Toby, while you're still there, if I could, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Based on what the applicant had said, I'm curious about number 3 of the conditions. Any expansion or intensification of the use will require a new conditional use permit. He had mentioned that eventually the entire property would be covered with trees. As of right now, the site plan shows approximately, I think, 2 acres of trees. So how, as the county, do we work out, from a 2-acre plot of trees to all of a sudden a substantially larger area of trees? Like, is that anything that, I'm just curious about the intensification and how we define what that is.
Yeah, I think the trees that he's speaking to would really be the screening part of it. I would say if there's any additional uses or buildings on the property, that would trigger him to come in on a new conditional use permit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Toby. You could keep trying to walk away, but yeah, it takes us a
I
minute.
don't want to overstay my welcome.
To piggyback on what Mr. Green's saying, so yeah, on number 3, how will or how would that be decided on expansion or intensification? Who decides that?
I would say we lock in the site plan. So the site
Okay.
plan that we have here, if there's any changes to that,
Is the current proposal doing that, or do we have to add a condition?
I think the current proposal is sufficient for what it is.
So it's locked, that would lock that site plan in, and anything over and above that would have to need an adjustment?
But I think what he's referencing when he says trees, his intention is to screen the property.
No, I
with
understand
trees,
that,
yeah.
and whether it's trees or it's more buildings or whatever it is, whatever the thing may be, we don't know. And it might not even be his doing, it's down the road, right? Because my assumption is if the property is sold, this use will follow it, correct?
The site plan will follow it.
The site plan?
Yep.
Will the conditional use also follow it?
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
So that's the only thing I'm thinking is that even down the road, then that gives us protection, or at least gives us shouldn't say protection, gives us an opportunity to revisit if it's gonna expand, correct?
Yeah, I would say lesson learned on the other ones that we've
Okay.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is that conditional address, the concerns that have arisen over the existing ones that we've had. So, okay?
Okay, before you go, any other questions for Mr. Brown?
Not till he turns around.
Yeah, wait till he gets to his seat. Okay.
Get good exercise, thanks.
Thank you, Toby. What are your guys' thoughts on the fact that Toby feels that this existing site plan is locked in, and that, do you guys feel like that's right?
Mr. Chairman, I do.
You?
With that, I'll offer a motion to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion. Second.
Second by Boots.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Well, I guess we already have a motion, so.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so we've already got a motion, and I think you made the other motion, so, any more discussion, any more questions?
I guess I don't have any more questions, Mr. Chair, but I feel a lot better with we waiting the month and seeing this new plan and the way it's
Yeah.
kind of laid out, so I will be supporting.
Okay? Anyone else?
I'm still 50-50, so call me last.
Okay. I'll be honest, last month, I was a pretty hard no on this until we had some time to think about it, look at it. I'm still super cautious, about these types of deals, but I want this to work. I think what you're doing is right. I know the neighborhood you're in. I know some of your neighbors that have supported you, and they're good people, and so I'd like to see this happen, and you seem to be willing to work with us. Obviously, our fear is that down the road, that it could completely blow up and have unplanned planning, But I think if we're good with that, if the site plan is locked in, it looks good, I guess
Mr. Chair,
I can probably support it. Yeah.
I do have another comment here. So I do feel better about these conditions. I know in the past, we've done garden centers closer to my house, and I've seen how they've not fallen into where we were told they would be or how they would be. So that really makes me nervous, as you said. But as Toby said, we are learning from our past, and we're getting better all the time, and I do think he has the best intentions and all that, so I'm going to support this.
Yeah. Good. Mr. Green, any comments?
I still struggle with the agreeance of the best intentions, but it's not his intentions I'm necessarily concerned about.
Right, yeah.
It's the future land use.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still in that 50-50 category.
So call you last now?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I will be supporting it. And again, it's a conditional use permit for an ag zone. It's not a rezone. So for this to go into some other use was going to be a lot more difficult than it was if it was a rezone. So that is, I think, the swaying decision for myself. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thanks for that, Commissioner Poppins. That's a good point. All right, well, if there is no more comment, we've got the motion on the floor to approve as is with the 7 conditions, and we'll call roll. So, Commissioner Jungling?
Yes.
Commissioner Boots?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeter?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Green?
Well, you can thank Commissioner Poppins. Yes.
Commissioner Scott will also be a cautious yes, but yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for your patience and working with us, and I think we all learned a little something on this deal, so good luck to you.
No, absolutely, and
Yeah.
I want you guys to know I'm not gonna give it any.
Yeah, no, I think we're comfortable with you, yeah. Yep, just stay there forever. It'll make things easier. Yeah.
Yes, they will be. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, with that, we don't have any old business, so we'll move on. New business. And excuse me.
Hang on, excuse me for a second.
Okay, so this evening, we had the work session for the comprehensive plan update. The intention was tonight is to have our consultant here to really share the final parts of the plan. We were going to schedule a public hearing for November and really start adoption with the goal to get it done this year. I guess I've had some discussions with our consultant, and at this time, I'm going to recommend that we put a pause on the timeline. We've had some developments in the county that we need to think through a little bit and take a look at. So 2 things that staff has done to this point is worked with a consultant and the IT staff. We've opened the survey, the Phase 2 survey back up on the website. So if you want to speak and be heard, that's the proper process. If you want to talk about development, growth in Lincoln County, that's the proper vehicle to do it through that process. So I would encourage everyone, again, it's we're making it annoying, so the minute you go to the county website, it's going to pop up. But this is your chance to speak and be heard with this process. Second thing is I did reach out to the communities of Worthing, Harrisburg, and the city of Canton to set up a meeting to talk to them about joint jurisdiction planning and zoning. And really it's just an informational type session with them to go through some of those requirements and processes, and we can go from there. So with that, I guess in general, I would just say to the public and to the board is that, again, staff's recommendation is to put a pause on the comprehensive plan update until we think some things through that we've got going on. Okay? With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about the comprehensive plan update, so. Okay, I'm gonna walk away, so.
What about any of the concerns we heard during public comment? Do you want to address any of those?
So I guess.
Where we're at with them?
Yeah, I would say the response there is we're still looking into a lot of those questions and concerns.
Okay.
I would say, that there's no, well, I'll leave you the general, what I always tell staff is that we received no application. So there's nothing for me to really comment on at this point in time. And, whether or not there's a requirement of an application for what, you're asking about, we're still looking into that at this point in time. What I would say is that, as you are aware, through your work with the ordinances, it would not require a rezone. So it's a conditional use in the A1 agricultural district, if it would be required, so, okay?
And then we had Mr. Venturis speak on the setback ordinances. There's, is there
Yeah, I think
any update there?
Yeah, I think staff's working with the Board of Commissioners to set up kind of a process. They put like a 60-day period on that, so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, very good.
So if I may, so is that, in that 60-day period, understanding that, Tony came forward with an ordinance, allegedly there are, a large group of citizens that have created another one. Commissioner Aaron's created another one. So will that process likely include a joint meeting between planning and zoning, or is this gonna be county commissioner based? Like, what's the thoughts that plan's gonna look like to move this forward, or whatever it looks like?
To be determined.
To be determined.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah, so, okay, yeah, it's a 60-day kind of evaluation period, and then once that's determined how that's gonna move forward.
Which I also think means,
Yeah.
Commissioner Green, that people are open to opinions. So if you've got some ideas and on how that process should go, I think folks are looking for it, so, yeah.
I really envision we've got 4 or 5 drafts, I think, that are out there right now. I think it's really a vetting all of those. You got a good framework with all those. And then really, I think the next phase is just a good conversation and dialogue. That's really where it needs to go with it. But I'll defer to the commission on that one to kind of determine how they want to move forward with that, so.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I really had on that. So any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, would you indulge me for?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
I wanted to address the board. I was a little disappointed. We did a joint jurisdiction on zoning. I commend this board for the work you do. I absolutely think you guys have, ladies, put intense amount of thought and process into decisions that you make. You take the extra time working with individual applicants, people are in favor and opposition. I cannot give you an answer as to why it was such a reversal on this last rezone. And it actually, to a point, I tried to submit a resignation to the chairman from his position because I felt I was doing an injustice representing the board to you. After some thought and consideration, I rescinded my application to resign to fill out this year. But it will be my last term on planning and zoning. I've served it for a long time. It's definitely time to have somebody else coming after this year from the commission. Because I have in all of the years tried to keep politics out of decisions. I think it's equitable for one, it's equitable for all. But maybe this board needs to have some direction from the commission, and that's what this position is a liaison from the commission to inform you so that you can have a better understanding of, I think, what the majority thinks from the commission. I'm a minority when it comes to some of the planning and zoning decisions that are going on there. So I encourage you to, when things do go to the planning and zoning board, or from the planning and zoning board to the commission, although I share the consensus of what happened here, it seems like they definitely need to hear from this board almost individually for some reason. So I encourage you, if you want to take that time when issues are coming up and contact other members of the board, I encourage you to do so. But I'm just trying to prepare you because you will have somebody next year. And it will be a great asset because they'll have a different perspective. But I do want to say, because I won't do this at the end of the year, thank everyone for the time that I've served on planning and zoning. And I commend you, and I cannot thank you enough for the work you've done on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Poppins. Appreciate it. And we appreciate everything you do. You bring a lot of good ideas and a lot of good insight. And, yeah, I can think I can speak for everybody. We sure appreciate it. So, thanks. Okay, with that,
Motion to adjourn?
motion, we've got a motion to adjourn. A second? We got a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.